Hey guys, MetalJesus here, and I am back again with more PlayStation 2 games that we did not get here in the USA. In this video, I'm going to be highlighting 8 games that are frankly pretty awesome, and then one that is a real stinker. Honestly, I'm kind of embarrassed to even show it at all. But before we get started, I do want to give a shout out to my buddy Reggie, who let me borrow his PlayStation 3 test system. That's the reason why I'm able to play these games, because normally they have region locking, as well as that whole PAL 50 hertz versus 60 hertz. So his PlayStation 3 allows me to capture this footage. And also many of these games are his. All right, let's get started. The first game I'm going to talk about is called Forbidden Siren 2. Now this is a third-person survival horror game that came out pretty much everywhere except for the US. The first thing I want to mention is that this is a sequel to a game that not a lot of people enjoyed, but from what I've read, the developers worked really hard to try to make the sequel even better and basically address a lot of the things that people were complaining about in the original. And for the most part, it seems like it really worked. People love this game. Now, as you can see here, it's very similar to, say, a Resident Evil game or Silent Hill. It doesn't have tank control, so it's definitely more modernized that way. Also, I want to point out just how cool the cutscenes are in this game. It's really trippy because they look kind of animated, but also motion captured. I mean, take a look at their faces. That actually looks like it's maybe filmed, or maybe they took footage and then placed it on top of a 3D model. But yeah, it works really well. In this game, you have psychic powers that allow you to see what an enemy sees. It's really trippy how this works. Basically, you can see, what they see in first person, which allows you to solve some puzzles. Like, for instance, at one point early on in the game, you can see an enemy using a lock combination, so it tells you what the solution is. And sometimes you'll just use that psychic power to know, say, where an enemy is looking. So if you want to pass by a door, well, that'll tell you, when it's safe to do so. And as you can see here, you play through with several different characters, and I think it might actually be through different time periods. I'm not 100% sure because I'm really not that far into the game yet, but from what I've played and what I've heard online, this is truly an excellent game. It's a real shame we didn't get it here in the US. Next up is another fan favorite that we did not get, and it is called Gregory Horror Show. So in this game, you play as a boy that is wandered into this really weird hotel, and then you are tasked to try and collect as many souls of the visitors as possible. Now, you do this by wandering the hotel. Sometimes you'll peek into keyholes and maybe listen in on conversations. You'll also be solving puzzles, and then eventually you'll go to bed at night, and then you deliver those souls to the Grim Reaper. I have to say right off the bat, and you can see that here in the gameplay footage, that the art style is just really excellent in this game. It has a unique style to it that I don't think I've seen anywhere else. There's also a nice mix of humor and dark comedy here, or maybe horror a little bit. It definitely reminds me of, say, Tim Burton and a lot of his movies. But as far as gameplay goes, it really plays like a 3D adventure game, and there are some stealth elements involved. You're basically trying to avoid some of the more aggressive characters, and then you're trying to sneak up and try to figure out how to get the souls of the other people that are in the hotel. It's just a fantastic game. It's hilarious. It's well written. It plays great. If you have the ability to play this game, definitely do it. Next up is Gigawing Generations. And as you can see here by the footage, it is a 3D version of a classic bullet hell style shooter. And right off the bat, I'm not really sure why we didn't get this one. I don't know, for whatever reason, it just didn't make it over to the US. I don't really have a lot to say about this game other than while I was capturing the gameplay footage, I did find it to be very hard, very busy on the screen with just tons of bullets to dodge. Thankfully, there is difficulty settings that you can set in the menu, so you do have a chance, and maybe you'll get a little bit further than I did. Okay, here is a weird one, and it's called Deep Water. Now, looking at that cover, what do you think this game would be like? Well, when I started playing the game, I was definitely surprised because this is a very weird and unusual Japanese open world RPG where you are a boat captain and then you kind of sail around picking up missions. You'll upgrade your ship and also your weapons. And basically you're just exploring the waters and occasionally you're shooting sharks. And as you can see by this footage, these are some aggressive sharks. They're almost taking it personal here. Like they're really going after you. It's actually kind of funny. Now, I don't know if it's covered in the story itself. I actually kind of skipped past that part when I was capturing the footage, but I'm definitely getting a bit of a Waterworld vibe with this game. Remember that movie back in, I believe, the 90s with Kevin Costner? So there's a little bit of a post-apocalyptic thing going on here. This game definitely has its own charm. Now, I would say it's not great, but it is weird and cool enough to definitely keep you playing and just wondering what the heck is going to be around the next turn. Here's a game called Seven Blades, and we actually covered this game a couple months back when Reggie first picked it up. So this is a beat 'em up by Konami that takes place in 17th century Japan, and essentially what you do is you just take on waves and waves of enemies, which admittedly when I was capturing this footage I was starting to get a little bit bored, but the game definitely has some funny characters and a ton of charm. I also think that the graphics are pretty good too, especially for the PlayStation 2 and, for the time. Also, there's not really much slowdown, especially when you consider how many enemies they're just throwing at you at once. Now, admittedly, I haven't played this one a lot either because this is Reggie's copy of the game, but it looks pretty cool, so if you're into beat 'em ups, definitely check it out. Here is Assault Suits Vulcan. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Vulcan. So this might look a little familiar to some of you because this is actually a modern update to the classic 16-bit title that we got in North America called Cybernator. So in this game, you're in a mech and then you're platforming and also run and gunning. And what's cool about this is that you can shoot in 360 degrees, as well as you have the ability to block and then also dash. Immediately when I was playing this game, I like how your mech has weight. So you can only really jump so high, but then you can also fire your thrusters to get just a little bit more boost. And what's cool is that that doesn't actually last forever, and most of the levels are designed to kind of accommodate this. So there's definitely a lot of strategy involved in the platforming in this game. I will say that this game gets very hectic very quick. So even in this first level here, towards the end of the level, I'm having to shoot everywhere, jump around. I'm also having to block a lot, which actually is a mechanic that I find refreshing. I mean, you can't just blast your way through everything. So yeah, it's a cool update to a classic game, and if you have the ability to play it, you should definitely do that. Here's another game that Reggie has talked a lot about in the past, and that is Michigan Report from Hell. So Reggie loves his survival horror games, and this is a really interesting one because it's kind of different than a lot of them that you may have played before. So in this game, you play as a local news cameraman who is investigating a strange fog that seems to have moved in and covered most of Chicago. But this fog isn't typical because weird creatures keep coming out of the fog to attack and eat citizens. It kind of reminds me of John Carpenter's The Fog, remember that? Or maybe Stephen King's The Mist? And so your main job is to assist the news crew that is covering this event, and that consists of an anchor woman as well as a sound guy that run around with you. And as you can see by the footage, it's basically a survival horror game, but it's taking place entirely in the first person. So you're basically seeing the whole world and the whole game through that camera lens. And then in that first person view through the camera, you can zoom in on specific items and instruct your crew to either interact with it or maybe pick something up, or in the case of enemies, you can tell them to shoot them. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This game is definitely kind of clunky at times, and oh man, it has some god-awful voice acting. But if you like survival horror games and you're looking for something a little different, definitely check out Michigan Report from Hell.
There's a survivor in the center building. Let's go. Maybe we can get some leads on what's going on. But more importantly, somebody's in trouble.
All right, next up is XII Stag. So this is a top-down shooter, and I have to say, it's got some pretty good graphics. I would say at first glance, this looks like your typical everyday top-down shooter, and I think for the most part it is, although this game does have the ability to fire sideways, But the thing is, you have to kind of wiggle left and right really quickly to make it happen. And to be quite honest, I never really got the hang of it. I mean, it's a cool concept, but it doesn't work very well, at least on this version. And it's not like you can ignore it either, because as you can see from this gameplay footage, many of the enemies will come up from the bottom and the side, so you need to use it. I do get the feeling that they tried to do something a little bit different with this game, and for the most part, I think it succeeds. I mean, you don't have to really fire sideways all the time, and for the most part, it is enjoyable. Oh boy, okay, here we go. So this is a game called Seven Sins, and let me just say right up front that this is not the most politically correct game I've had on my channel. If you have small children watching this video, you may want to cover their eyes and ears, because this is going to get a little bit PG-13. Basically, in this game, you play somebody who is, well, he's kind of a jerk, and honestly, at times, he's almost like a chauvinistic pig, but I guess to be fair, you don't always have to be. It's just that this game kind of rewards you if you do. Basically, you're this dude who lives alone, and then at the beginning of the game, you work in a department store, and your main goal is to really try to win over your boss for, say, cash, but then also trying to make it with the ladies that are there. Basically, you're trying to understand the wants and needs of the people that you're interacting with. So you'll engage them in dialogue and try to figure out, you know, their personality and what turns them on and what might actually piss them off. And at least in the beginning of this game, when you're in the department store, you're trying to get one of the ladies over into one of the stalls so you can, how do I say this nicely? Try to get to know them better. And I mentioned your character can be a real jerk or chauvinistic pig if you want to. So some examples of that are like taking a leak on a plant in your store and hoping to not get caught, or you can steal stuff or money. Back in your apartment, you can actually chug beers until you pass out, or in the store, you can try getting away with groping women and much more. And most of the time, these events that you try to do will trigger some sort of mini game. Now, I played through a bunch of these, and honestly, most of the time I failed miserably because I just couldn't even figure out the controls or even the instructions. They were just not fun at all. I guess this is supposed to be like a Sims dating game thing, and for the most part, it's very juvenile. It can be kind of funny and silly and sad, I guess, but for the most part, it is just frustrating. It's not fun, and frankly, it's just dumb. All right, guys, well, that's another PlayStation 2 game that we did not get in the US, and I have to say, it's kind of a bummer because some of these games are really good, especially Forbidden Siren 2 and Gregory Horror Show. Also, Deep Water, man, that's just a trippy game. I could see that being a really cool budget title. So, all right, guys, love to know what you thought down in the comments below. And as always, I want to thank you for watching my channel. Thank you for subscribing, and take care.